Hello. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing really well. So, we are back for a second video. Didn't think I'd actually be able to make a second one, but here we are. And I still don't know if I should be looking at this camera. Ooh, my hand being out like that. I'm not sure I'm a fan. Or if I should look down at me, but that's what I'm probably going to do. So, we are going to talk about this Jupiter in retrograde season because, as you know, Jupiter went into retrograde March 8th and it'll be staying there until July 10th. So that is a long fucking time, and you're going to have a Mercury retrograde going on in there too. And I have come to realize that the mechanisms of the universe with regards to astrology, like, they line up a lot for a reason, like, and it's always like perfect timing. Now, before I go any further, I want to say, while I have been studying astrology for the better part of 2 years and am constantly researching it every day, I would not call myself an why am I doing this? I would not call myself an astrologer. I'm literally being the emoji right now. I would not call myself an astrologer. I wouldn't feel comfortable claiming to be an astrologer or anybody, or claiming to be somebody who even remotely understands something that is so detailed and scientific like astrology until I've been studying it for at least 5 years. And to be honest, I'm studying astrology not to necessarily be an astrologer in the typically understood sense of the word. There is something that I want to do with astrology that is very non-traditional, but in order for me to feel comfortable doing this thing that is just way out there with it, I want to make sure that I understand it to the very best of my being. So, with all of that said, I'm not an astrologer. That being said, I tend to intuitively pick up what's going on, and later on I'll look into what's going astrologically, and it goes perfectly with what's happening. And also, maybe because I'm an Aries, I notice in my own personal life the themes that are astrological play out very blatantly, which is good because I am oblivious as fuck. So when things happen, I really do not pick up on them unless it is super, super, super obvious. So it's like the universe is like, we're gonna have to make her an Aries so that everything is in the placements where they're naturally supposed to be, so that she can pick up on this quickly. Because honestly, if I hadn't worked at a place where I was working, and the only reason I worked there had a lot to do with my Aries nature, I never would have met the people that introduced me to astrology in the way that they did. That would have made me feel comfortable even researching it. But we'll get to that. Okay, so with all that said, I've been meditating on this energy a lot recently, and I'm sure a lot of you have also experienced this, where you've kind of been feeling into what's going on with this Jupiter retrograde in advance, because time is not, an energy does not work so precisely, and time is not linear. So some people, especially based on your placements and that kind of stuff, have probably been feeling into this energy, honestly, since Pisces season, since Pisces is also a water sign, and so you've probably already been feeling into it and experiencing things, but not fully understanding what, because Neptune is in Pisces right now, and all of us are just like, what the fuck is my life? I don't know. Pisces is savage, y'all. Like, he's there to teach us lessons, but like, it's kind of like when Darren Criss was in that episode of The Flash, and the character that he played there, if you've seen that episode, I actually attribute that character to like Neptune energy, so like, if you haven't seen that episode of The Flash, I think it's in season 3, so you better watch the whole thing. Okay, don't just like go skip and watch it. It's on Netflix. But yeah, Darren Criss from Glee, although I'm sure he doesn't like to be called from Glee because he does a lot of things, but he had a cameo, and or I don't know if it'd be called a cameo, but he was featured in a special guest, and his character is very much, to me, that to me was like the embodiment of Neptune energy. It was bomb. So, with all that said, I've been meditating on this energy for a while, and before I even get into what I was meditating, I want to talk about meditation because I feel like as these spiritual concepts are becoming more and more accepted and assimilated into regular society, I'm realizing that there's a lot of assumptions that are made about it, and a lot of people, maybe in hopes to try and feel confident in their following it or whatever, but people kind of make assumptions about what things are and what they aren't. And I don't know why I all of a sudden just decided to hold this pen. So yeah, what things are and what things aren't. And with meditation, for the longest time, I used to think that, based on my experiences, that, oh my gosh, like I can't meditate. Like I'm the worst meditator. Like like sitting down and doing nothing. My brain is just like going. Like it just gives me more time for my mind to think. Like literally just sitting and doing nothing. My brain is just not stopping. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to be the one person who can't meditate. This is ridiculous. And then I realized, because I would try and go to coffee shops and like sit down to like work on this book that I'm writing. And so I'd sit there and I'd be like, oh, I'm in a meditative state. Like I'm drinking chamomile tea. I'm just chilling here, not talking to anybody, just kind of like observing my surroundings, and nothing would come to me. I'd literally sit there and I'd be like typing away so I didn't look like weird and ridiculous for just being by myself. Because when you're sitting by yourself at places, people naturally just feel worried for you. Like in people's mind, like the first thing isn't, oh, look at them just having, like a day with themselves. They're just like, oh, like she's alone and she doesn't have a laptop and she's not looking at her phone. Oh, she must be waiting on a date. Oh no, she must have got stood up. Oh shit. And then they're like, should we ask her to come sit with that? Like people like walk by and they give you like sympathy glances, or like, like, and it's just like, I'm good. Like I'm just here chilling. Don't worry about me. But so I would sit there and I'd be thinking and meditating or trying to, and it just, but nothing would come to me, and I'd be like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Like how, there's no way that people are just like emptying their minds like this. Like it's a fraud. I was like, it's a fraud. I couldn't believe it. And then I was working at a coffee shop. I was a barista and a baker there, and I noticed that when I would do things like pulling shots, like whenever we get crazy busy and I'd just be stuck at the espresso machine, just like pulling shots and making lattes for people, to the point where I had it down to where it was like muscle memory. Or if when I was baking, I was decorating something, or kneading dough, or something that was kind of like a menial task that I had done a lot, so it really didn't require my mind to be like super actively a part of it, but at the same time had my mind engaged. That's when I would start receiving insights about stuff. Like that's when I would receive information about that thing, that situation that I've been like mulling over in the back of my mind for a while, trying to figure out how to maneuver through it. And then all of a sudden, like I'd have my eureka moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. And like I started bringing a journal with me to work, because I realized that I'm doing most of my I'm getting most of my intuitive guidance, and apparently I'm at my most receptive state when I'm doing like menial tasks, like washing dishes, like sweeping the floors, mopping, like stuff like that. And so through that I realized meditation really it's whatever helps you. So meditation doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be you out in a field somewhere in nature and sitting and doing nothing. Like if you've got like allergies to like the fucking world, it's not like, well fuck, I can't meditate then. Like whatever allows you to be here in the moment and engaged with the moment, but your mind doesn't feel like it needs to be racing to try and figure out the moment, because like it doesn't take it that serious. That puts you in a beautifully receptive state to like gain insights about other things, and to gain guidance and to channel, that's basically what's happening there. So I want to talk about that first, because I feel like the spiritual community, meditation, I've seen in general, just with certain people in my life, they're never, like, they'll never say it out loud, but it's kind of like in their minds, they see like a hierarchy of meditation. Like, oh yeah, I go to these retreats, and like they're silent retreats, and I talk my meditation on. And there's some people who are into all of that stuff, and they are like awesome. And like my roommate's one of those people, and like, she's just so supportive of everybody practicing mindfulness in whatever way works best for them. But then there are other people who kind of like, they take it too seriously, where they're like, well, that's not the way that it's like traditionally done. And it's like, well, this world is evolving and changing. And if you have these beliefs in your mind about how something is supposed to look, and it can only look that way for it to be valid, I'm sorry, that's limiting you. Like, maybe it's not limiting you, but it's limiting the way that you can access this information. If in the future that stopped working for you, then what, are you just going to be screwed? Like, this world is changing and evolving, and it's diverse and varied. There are multiple ways to do things, and I think that's awesome. But if you're going to sit there and turn around and tell somebody, like, and try and show somebody, like, this is the way that you're supposed to meditate, and it's one thing to, like, help them, like, work through it, like, the way that you do it, but to try and tell them, like, that's the only way, like, seriously. Okay, so how about you go meditate and stop, being other people's business? How about you do that? Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Jupiter retrograde. If I'm looking off to the side, it's because I have some notes about this Jupiter retrograde. And I want to make sure I talk about all the stuff on here because it's really important to me. My higher self woke me up in the middle of the night to have me write down all of this shit. So, I'm going to talk about it because apparently it's important. Like, kept me up from like 1 a.m. to like 5 a.m. so that I could write this stuff. So, no, it's not that much stuff, but like, So, let's talk about it. So, Jupiter retrograde. With it being in Scorpio, and Scorpio being ruled by Pluto, which is definitely a planet of like transformation and revolutionary, and Jupiter is, the thing that makes everything bigger. So I'm like, yo, this is going to be some major revisions of things like laws, policies, beliefs surrounding the justice system, sexuality, and sexually taboo topics. And you can see how that's playing out right now with the laws that are being put together to deal with survivors of sexual assault and to protect them. Like, that's already one thing right there. And then mental health, that's another big thing that I've been seeing in my own life. Like, there's definitely more people are starting to talk about their mental health on deeper levels and be vulnerable about their mental health and their mental health journey on social media, just like talking with like individuals in their life, like, and it's beautiful. I think it's really awesome because that's the whole point of this, really, is Scorpio dives down to the depths to get to the deeper meaning of shit, and then Jupiter blows shit up to help you really see it. So it's like the depths, like when it gets down to the depths, like it's dark down there, and sometimes it's hard to fully perceive what's going on because it feels like such a reach from like the surface level understanding that you're almost like, I'm not sure. But when Jupiter's there to be like, oh no, like, we're going to pull up this rug, we are going to sweep out all of the dirt that is under there, and you're going to look at it. In fact, I'm going to put your face in it to where you're so uncomfortable that now you have to do something about it because you put that dirt there in the first place. Like, Jupiter in Scorpio is pulling up the shit that you repress. It's not pulling up the unconscious. Okay, to me, this is how I would break down the water signs personally. And again, coming from somebody who's not an astrologer. So, I would break down the water signs as this. Like, you have Cancer, and Cancer is just the feeling itself. Like, they have access to and experience all the feelings, okay? And then you have Scorpio that really, like, it goes down into the depths of those waters and into the depths of those feelings because it's trying to understand, it wants to understand. And then you have Pisces that is like the expansiveness of those water and how it touches everything. And it's the waters like that are not fully connected, like you have your conscious realm and then your unconscious realm, and your unconscious realm is still part of like this bigger grand watery element that is the spirit, the information of the soul and that kind of stuff. But it's just Pisces seems to be more tapped into that information that we haven't yet found a way to connect with our conscious. So like Pisces is just here, and then it's like your consciousness is here, and Pisces is able to make a connection between the two, you know. So yeah, all of that said, with Jupiter being in Scorpio, it's bringing up all that stuff that you've repressed. It's bringing up the stuff that you didn't want to make a connection to because you couldn't afford to live in a reality where that information that you had was a fact or was something that you experienced along with, you know, what's going on in your life. Like the two in your mind for whatever reason couldn't exist, and this could have been things that you experienced as a child, and that's why, because you're like, I don't understand, so you're like, I'm just going to repress that so I can move on with my life in this way. And it's not something you necessarily do consciously, but it is something that we all do. So with mental health, one thing I wanted to talk about actually in particular is this positivity movement, okay? And before I sound like a salty ass bitch, like, I'm not saying that positivity, like, trying to maintain a positive attitude, I'm not saying that that's wrong. But what I am saying is it's dangerous when you have people basically telling you, or people telling even themselves, that they need to stop feeling like negative emotions. That is so dangerous. Like, that is so dangerous. You're basically teaching people through this, always look for the positive, always look for, you know, the way that it's going to work out. You are basically, in a sense, telling people to learn how to emotionally gaslight themselves. That's what you're doing. Because the reality is, the fact that our body, like, we have the capability to feel these emotions, like, because these bodies are vehicles of our soul. They help us to gather data in the 3D world, you know. And okay, these are all just my theories now before I start saying things and people are like, who said that, where did that come from, whose book did you read? These are just my own opinions, okay? So we can, you know, I truly believe that, like, these bodies are like our vehicle to help us get through this 3D reality and to help us, like, be in it and be able to experience it. And they have the capability of feeling positive and negative emotions, but I think we put too much, we place too much meaning into it, you know, to where we start identifying with our feelings. And it's like, that's not what that is. Your feelings, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, your emotions that you feel, whether they're positive or negative, they are helping to give you information about the 3D reality. They're helping to give you information about where you're at. But, so when you're doing something that your soul loves, you are going to experience really, sorry, I'm looking for my charger because my thing's gonna die because I forgot to charge it last night. When you are experiencing positive emotions like elation and joy and just gratitude and gratefulness, you know, and just sheer happiness, that's your body's way of giving you information for you to understand that, oh, you're doing something that your soul loves, you know? And when you do things, and when things are happening around you where you start experiencing negative emotions, where you start feeling, you know, especially anxiety, and we'll talk about that too, you're experiencing anxiety and fear and anger and frustration, that's your body's way of cluing you in to, hey, right now, what you're engaging in, what you're experiencing, this is not in alignment with what your soul wants to experience. That in and of itself is not bad. And I think a lot of people kind of demonize these negative emotions, and I'm like, they're not bad if you don't identify with them. Like, if you can allow yourself to not fall into the trap of seeing yourself as your experience, then it won't matter what feelings come through. You will allow yourself. Ooh, sorry, it's spider season, so I'm on like the lookout. I saw one in my bed yesterday. Okay. If you allow yourself to experience the things that you experience and feel the things that you feel without identifying it, but without judging it. And what do I mean by judging it? When you're judging yourself, when you're judging your feelings, it's those moments when you start feeling something and you're like, I shouldn't feel like that. And you try to talk to yourself, you try to logic yourself, again with these pens, you try to logic yourself out of feeling what you're feeling. That's gaslighting yourself. That's what you're doing. The reality is, it doesn't have to be this battle between your body and your soul. It doesn't. And your mind and your heart, okay? Like, it doesn't have to be that. But you need to be compassionate with yourself. And I think this Jupiter in retrograde is really going to teach us the importance of being compassionate with ourselves, because it's going to bring up a bunch of shit that we don't want to deal with. And it's going to bring it up in ways to where we cannot help but address it, because again, it's Jupiter, but it's not. If you can recognize this as the blessing that it is, then you're going to learn to be so much more compassionate with yourself and with others, as you're working through this. So the positivity movement, yeah, I think that's something that is going to be coming under critique, and I don't want to say under fire, but definitely like people are going to be more mindful of that and realizing, hey, I don't know if that works for me. Maybe it works for some people, but for me, sometimes I'm like, I need to get in the feels for a second and then I'll deal with it later. But right now, I just need to feel this. Like, I have days where I literally am like, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to watch all the movies that make me cry, because apparently I need to cry about something. Sometimes I'm crying because I'm feeling somebody else's stuff, and I'll literally text my friends like, okay, which one of you are crying, because I can't stop crying, and like, who needs a hug? Like, please come tell me so I can come find you and hug you, because I just feel like crying and it's not me. Like, who is it? Like, and I'm much nicer about it, but like, that's literally how I feel. I'm like, somebody somewhere that I know is crying. Like, it's like Steven Universe. If you've seen that episode with him and the Blue Diamond, and I can't say anything else because I don't want to fucking ruin it, but like, he's empathic too. So like, whenever he's around a certain gem, the Blue Diamond, and that Blue Diamond is feeling something, he also starts feeling it, but he couldn't even see them yet. He just was feeling it, and he's like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm crying. And yeah, it was Steven Universe. That is such a good show. Like, it is definitely something that I feel like really can help empower those of you who have kids who you're like, yeah, they're super empathic. That show, I really feel, is a really good show to help them learn how to kind of work through their emotions in a safe but very descriptive and helpful way. But of course, always watch it and make sure that you resonate with all the things that are on there. Rebecca Sugar is bomb, but you might be like, look, I personally don't agree with that aspect of how she handled that. Always question everything. And that is another thing. I have 2 pens now. That is another thing that Jupiter and Scorpio is trying to show you. You should always, you should be courageous enough and brave enough to question everything. But the only way that you can do that is to realize that you are not your experiences. You are not the emotions that you are feeling. So it's going to have to bring up a bunch of shit that you've been repressing to get you to recognize it, so that you can stop identifying with it. Because the reason you've hidden it from yourself is because in some way you identify with it, but it's a part of yourself that you don't like, that you don't feel comfortable identifying with, so you hide it from yourself. And Jupiter's like, all right, it's time to release that. It's time to take control of your life. So let's deal with this. So if you can see this Jupiter retrograde as something to help empower you through getting you to deal with the things that you've been hiding from yourself, then you're going to have a wonderful Jupiter retrograde. Retrogrades are a neutral thing as far as I'm concerned. Mercury retrograde, for example, the way that I even found out about astrology is I was working at a health food store, and the person who was working there, she was a Pisces. There were actually a lot of Pisces that worked there, like a lot. I had never experienced that many Pisces in one place. But, there weren't a lot of fire signs, so all of us who were there were just like, we're all best friends and let's all hang out. And everybody was like, y'all are extra. And we're like, yo, y'all are two in the fields. But we, there was this girl there, and she was my manager, and she would constantly bring up whenever Mercury retrogrades are going on. At the time, I did not know anything about astrology at all, so I didn't even know that the planets came into it. I thought it was just the zodiac signs, and I was like, what? Why are you talking about Mercury? Like, what the hell? And but she would always talk about it in such a way where she's like, oh, you guys, like, it's about to be Mercury retrograde, and our computers are going to be freezing all the time, and we're going to be fighting all the time, and I'm really not looking forward to it. If I could just take vacation, I would. And I was like, whoa, like, what the fuck is about to happen? And sure enough, when I would work with her, all of the things that she would be afraid of happening would happen during the Mercury retrograde. But I noticed when I wasn't working with her, maybe it's because I personally still was like, I don't know if I buy into this whole Mercury retrograde astrology bullshit yet. It didn't happen. Things would go smoothly, you know? Like, there might be, like, a couple of things here and there where I was like, but, you know, that's just gonna happen. I have an effect on electronics. The stories I could tell you, I'll save that for another day. But, like, she was the first person to really introduce me to all this stuff. But the way that she introduced me to it was that Mercury retrogrades, and just retrogrades in general, were something to fear. And I just never resonated with it. Come to find out, I had a couple things retrograde in my natal chart. So I'm like, maybe that's why, because I just naturally work with that energy. I don't know. And it might have been my Jupiter that was retrograde. Huh. Yeah, it might have been that. Anyway. But it just was unfortunate that she would bring it up in such a way to where you immediately were perceiving it as something negative. And then guess what? You start manifesting all of that shit because, okay, Scorpios are really master manifestors because of the fact that they're willing to go, like, they're very magnetic. Scorpios are willing to get to the root of things. They want to understand things. So I have met very many Scorpios because at the place that I was working, there were a lot of Pisces and there were a lot of Scorpios. There's a lot of water signs in general, and like I said, not a lot of fire. It's very interesting. Things got real steamy, I'll tell you what, in positive ways and negative ways. But all of the Scorpios that I know, they all know themselves very well. But the difference that I've seen is that the Scorpios who had a really good, like, they were very good at charming people around them and, like, so funny and so magnetic. Oh my gosh, especially Scorpio women. Oh my gosh, like, I low-key have been avoiding asking out certain Scorpio women in my life because I'm like, once I date you, like, I'm done. Like, like, you've got me. Like, it's gonna be, like, low-key, and that's something I need to work with. Like, I have this, it's not even a fear. I, like, madly respect them, but I just am like, I've felt their magnetism, and I'm like, that's too much for me. Like, I'm not grounded enough for that shit. Like, I need to get my life right before I'm with you. And even then, it might be a struggle. Not in a bad way, but just in a, I know I love you and stuff, but, like, I think I need to, like, go and have alone time too. Like, we can't be having sex all the time. Like, you know, like, because they just ooze sexuality. Oh my gosh. But the difference between the ones who could charm a room and the ones who would get on people's nerves, because you have strong reactions to Scorpios in either one way or the other. But the difference between them was that the ones who could charm a room, not only were they aware of the aspects of themselves that they maybe didn't like, but they had found a way to embrace them and to love them. Not identify with it, but to embrace it and understand that, hey, this actually serves a purpose and I can actually utilize this. Like, this dark aspect of myself that I've been hiding from myself, I actually can see a usefulness for that aspect of myself, and they are able to like really just embody their darkness in a very empowered way. I guess that's the best way I can put that. So, let's see. So, your emotions are trying to help you to kind of go back. But the way that they help you is by giving you an idea of where you're at energetically. But the thing is, Jupiter is going to bring up all this shit for you. And you're going to feel a lot of things. And you're going to feel them very deeply. But Jupiter cannot do the work for you. All it can do is make it almost impossible for you not to try and deal with it. But it's up to you to recognize these situations that will be coming up as the gift that they are and use them as springboards to help launch you in the direction that you want to be. Because here's the thing. All right, gotta get comfortable for this. All right. Say you are unhappy in a job or in a relationship. And again, I'm looking down at my notes. And there's just a lot of things, but it's like, it's not an unhappy to where you're just like, oh my God, I fucking hate everything. It's like, there's always been those little things that you're like, that really bothers me, or I'm not sure why, but I just kind of don't fully align with this. But you've been repressing it. You've been using your mind to talk yourself out of those feelings and be like, oh, it's not, whatever. Like one big thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people who have been working 9-to-5 jobs for years and years and years are just up and quitting. They're up and quitting, and they don't have jobs lined up for themselves yet. And that's the exciting thing for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're actually just following their joy and doing what feels right without having a plan. That's fucking awesome. But the thing is, okay, so say you've been working at this job and you've been in this relationship for years and years, and you've always kind of been a little unhappy, but you just kind of have always found a way to just deal with it. Jupiter and Scorpio is going to bring up all this shit, all the reasons, all the little pet peeves that have been grating on you forever, and all the things that have at your job that have kind of been like killing your soul slowly, but you just didn't want to like deal with it. All of that stuff's going to come up in the most extra of ways to where you feel like, oh my gosh, I cannot keep working here. I cannot stay in this relationship. And that could play out in a number of ways where you start experiencing really high anxiety. That's actually one thing that I've been noticing, is that anxiety is really like people like expressing that their anxiety has been out of control has been like such a theme in my life, not with me specifically, but just like the people in my life. Like so many people are coming out now that I didn't even know had anxiety, who are like, look, like I have anxiety, I'm on medication, and I don't normally have to take it, but I've been having to take it a lot, and it's not, I don't even know if it's helping, or they don't even, a lot of them stopped taking medication with, of course, the permission from their doctor, because they were just like, I don't want to be numb. And they all started doing that around Pisces season. So I was like, ooh, you picked a hell of a time to wean yourself off some medication. Like, this is Pisces season, you've got to feel everything. But the thing is, a lot of them have been getting caught up and really experiencing a lot of anxiety, because the reason why you are feeling that anxiety is because you have identified with your experience. You're no longer seeing yourself as separate. You're no longer looking at it from a detached state to where you can allow yourself to feel the feeling, but you can also allow it to pass. And I know that that's way easier said than done. So don't think I'm sitting here being like, oh, you just have to release it and be detached from it and it'll all be fine. No, okay, it's hard. It's hard work. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say it like that, because I don't want y'all to be manifesting hard situations to help you work through this, but I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with saying that it's work. It's work. So the thing of it is, in a way, that anxiety popping up for you, that anger that's coming up, and you're like, oh my God, I literally cannot do this anymore, that's Jupiter. Jupiter is bringing that shit up for you through your feelings to get you to be like, hey, this thing, like something, something's not working about it, and I really need to fix it because this isn't working for me. Like, I can't live like this anymore. That's Jupiter. But the point of it is not to have you wallowing and so caught up in the emotions that you just feel like, oh my gosh, what is life? And I can't. The point of it is to get you to get to the root. It's like, okay, so you know that you don't like this job, but maybe before you didn't specifically know why. Now, because of all of these extra situations that are playing out, you know exactly why you don't want to work there, or you know exactly why this relationship isn't working for you, or like whatever it is. When you are able to pinpoint exactly why something is not working for you, it is not as big of a jump to figure out exactly what you do want then, because sometimes we have a general idea of what we want, but we don't know exactly. And so yes, like I said before, things will manifest in your life that are the general idea of what you want, or depending on what you have repressed, that is manifesting, is the energy that you're manifesting from. Because when you repress shit, like, you're still manifesting from the energy, just so you know. So whenever you do that, crap, I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. It helps you come to a deeper understanding of the thing. Ultimately, is what I'm trying to get down to, is that being able to so precisely see, oh, I can't stand that, and like to understand to a deep level what is not working, but to be able at that moment to detach and be like, okay, I am not what I'm experiencing. That is when you're able to make the jump and utilize that energy as a springboard towards, okay, now this is what I do want. Because I think the temptation is to see what you don't want, recognize that you don't want it, and then just be like, all right, well, I'll take anything but this, anything other than this. And there's a difference between you moving in the direction of what you do want versus moving in a direction away from what you don't want. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. There is a difference in energy and in intention between moving in the direction that you want to go versus moving away from what you no longer want. That's the thing. So Jupiter is going to have you moving away from shit that you don't want. Jupiter in Scorpio is going to make sure that you start walking away from things that don't serve you. You get to decide if it's you walking away from something you don't want in some general direction, or walking away from something that you don't want, but also simultaneously walking in a direction towards what you do want. So if you, like, that's the thing that Jupiter's trying to get you to do, is to utilize this energy, to utilize these specific feelings that you're having, these deep feelings that you're having that are helping you pinpoint specific things that are no longer working for you, because you are able to get to the root of them. You're able to understand the belief that you've been holding that tied you to this experience. Because if this is in your experience, some part of you thinks that you need to experience this. And I'm not saying that in a victim blamey kind of way at all. At all. But sometimes we have beliefs that do not serve us, that we don't even realize that we have. And so in order to help us, and so we'll manifest from the root of that. And Scorpio right now is going to help us, like, this Scorpio season, like, manifestation is going to be very easy. But the thing is, it's also going to be very precise. So if you're manifesting from a well of repressed shit, you're going to manifest a lot of shit in your life. It can manifest in your job, your relationship, and your friendships. Because you're very easily manifesting energetically. And so it's going to happen much quicker than you used to. But also, that'll help you work through shit a lot faster if you can utilize it as such. So, um, okay, so the difference between moving away in the direction away from what you don't want. The reason why you don't want to be moving, you don't want to be manifesting from a place where you're just resisting something or moving away from something with and not just focusing on something new, is that it's like those phrases, what you resist persists, like attracts like. If you focus on what you don't want on the surface level without really getting to the root of why, you will become an energetic match to that feeling, situation, that pattern, and you will keep attracting it. That is what is kind of, to me, the game changer of this. If you can recognize this, you will be able to utilize this Jupiter and Scorpio in a big way and make big moves. And it's not like you're not going to have to do a lot. Scorpios magnetize to them, they attract to them. Like, I'm an Aries, so I'm always used to be like, what do I got to do? Where do I got to go? And I'm noticing, like, once I just allow myself to feel into my feelings and then glean whatever truths or information I need to about myself from that moment, and then I can sift through those truths and be like, all right, this is no longer serving me, so I don't want that, but this is, or okay, so that doesn't serve me. What about it doesn't serve me? Oh, that? Okay, so now I know that this does serve me then, because this is basically the opposite of that, like, and it helps me, like, when I can do that on a mental level, then my experience starts changing, my outside reality starts changing and shifting, and I don't have to do shit. Like, literally, it's so weird not having to work in the way that I'm used to working. I used to believe, like, the only way that you can get anything in life is through hard work, and so I got what I wanted in life, but I had to go to school full time and work 4 jobs in order to do so. And I was always tired, and I was always miserable, and I was always exhausted, and my mental health was shit, because I believed that you could only truly gain the things that you want in life through backbreaking work. And once I stopped believing in that, my reality shifted tremendously. Like, I work 4 jobs right now, and I have so much time to, like, take naps and stuff. Like, they're jobs on things that I'm really good at, but that they don't feel like work. I never would have thought that that was a possibility. I have multiple means of income, like I did before, but they just feel like an extension of me in some way. They're fun. Like, they're not perfect. Like, I work at a flower shop, and I've been working there since January. I worked there through Valentine's Day. Okay, so that was not easy. But past that, I get to create. I get to learn about, why am I putting my arms like this? I get to create. I get to have fun. I'm not going to cut out any of the stuff that happens, because I'm like, I'm a human being, and I want you guys to realize that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with editing things, for the sake of, like, something looking polished, professional, but, like, that's not mean. Like, y'all know, I'm an Aries, I'm raw, and I'm intense, apparently. But that also means, like, I don't have time to be editing out those parts. I'm like, you either accept it or you don't. So, Jupiter and Scorpio, how many times can I keep saying this? This transit is doing us a solid by bringing out the dirt and the muck that we've been hiding from ourselves and making it uncomfortable, so that we have to finally release it, which will be challenging because Scorpio energy loves to hold on to things. It's fixed energy. And every energy has, like, its higher vibration and its lower vibration. So right now I'm going to talk a little bit about the lower vibration of Scorpio. Scorpio, when they're vibing low, they can have this belief that if they want to understand something. Ultimately, like, they're trying to understand shit. Whether it's they want to get to a deeper understanding of their partner so they can feel like they know what to expect. And in their mind, that's like a protection to keep themselves from being hurt. Because if they feel like they know somebody well enough to be able to tell before it happens that person's going to hurt them, then they can pull away when they need to, and then it won't even hurt them. Like, that's vibing low. So if for whatever reason, though, they feel like they can't fully understand the thing, the next best thing would be to at least control it. Like, And sometimes people can believe that if you control something, then you understand it, But the thing is, when you're in that type of a fixed energy in general, because this has to do with a lot of fixed signs, you miss the reality that you are giving your power away to the things that you hold on to in some way, when it's things that aren't serving you. But just in general, when you hold on to something, when you identify with something so much that you feel like you can't, that you have to hold on to it, you've in a sense given it some of your power. You're like, oh no, I need this to be me. So in a way, you've kind of given some of your power that you have within yourself to that thing. And you're like, no, I'm not me without that thing. I'm not me without a partner. I'm not me without that job. So now you've given your power away in your mind to that thing. So that's the lesson that I think a lot of Scorpios are work through in their life, is control does not equal power. It doesn't. Control honestly equals something that you can now siphon your power from you, your energy from you. So with this transit, the collective is kind of as a whole in some area of their life working through this lesson. But it doesn't have to be as painful as you think it will be. It's the fact that you think that it will be difficult that makes it so. Because again, manifestation energy. This is the 8th house. 8 is a number of, like Scorpio rules the 8th house. 8 is a number of manifestation. And to me, 8 is the number, like when you think about it, like it dips into the underworld and it dips into like the upper world. It dips into the, the deeper emotions and it dips into the higher emotions. Like that's the 8 in my mind. That's how I see it. So the reality is you can tap out of these experiences. You can manifest and attract towards you more pleasant experiences. You can't tap out of the lesson. No. You can't tap out of learning this. So if you think that by running from a situation, from a job, from a relationship, whatever, that you're going to escape the feelings that were coming up and all of that, you're going to escape the lesson, you're wrong. It will show up to you in a new face. It will come to you in a different package. That's why a lot of people that I know, and even in my life for a while, I would be like, oh my God, this job is the worst. Like I'd finally be like done with it and I'd leave. But I didn't learn the lesson, so I get into another job, and then it's like the lesson is like, okay, we'll carry on this lesson in this next job then, because you're not getting it. So that's why you might find yourself, you get into one relationship and you're like, oh my God, this is the worst, and everything that you experience in that relationship that's negative, you just attach to, well, that was just because it was that relationship, and you don't see it for the lesson that it is. The next relationship you're in, it's going to come to you, that lesson's going to come to you in a different package. And when you're being that resistant, I've noticed it tends to become more and more exaggerated the more that you resist the lesson. And that's when it becomes more and more painful. So if you can start to recognize that the situations in your life that are painful, mind you, if it is in your best interest to leave a relationship or a job, do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying don't just leave it at that and be like, okay, so I left the jobs, and treat it like that job or that relationship was the devil, or that's what the problem was. You're not the problem either. The thing is, there's something in your mind, there's thoughts and beliefs in your mind, that there's energy within you attached to those beliefs that you're manifesting from. Something in you believes that in some way you and that situation that you are in are one and the same. That's why you've attracted to it. So you need to do some deeper healing and some deeper soul searching to kind of understand why you believe that, so that you can release it. So, next page. Okay, so I do have some mantras that I wrote up. I'm going to say these for you because I am going to pull some cards as well to see if anything else wants to come up. I know this has already been 48 minutes, but we're going to pull some cards too because that's what I feel like doing. So yeah, I might pull some goddess cards. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I have the mini Rider-Waite tarot. Rider-Waite Smith, I really should be saying, because she needs to be getting her credit. But the Rider-Waite Tarot mini deck, that's what I have. And then I might use Doreen Virtue's Goddess Guidance Oracle cards deck as well, just to see kind of what energy, because this is very, I see Scorpio energy is very feminine, very receptive and magnetic, as in it draws towards it. So I would be really curious to see which goddess archetypes, like what energies are really active. Alright, so first card out we have the Five of Cups, and I'll probably just pull 3, and then as I say that, like a bajillion cards want to fall out. And then from there, if I feel like clarifying, yes, this is just confirming everything I just said. Next card out, we have the Eight of Cups. We'll get to that because to me, the Eight of Cups sometimes, if you're not careful, this could be you gaslighting yourself. You know, like there's a way to walk away from the cups where you've acknowledged it, but don't identify with it, and then there's a way to just be running away from your emotions, and that's when you're gaslighting yourself. Okay, so next card out. These cards are coming out so fast. I've noticed that though. Oh, here we go. Justice. Okay, Major Arcana, so we'll deal with that. I will probably pull a couple clarifiers for that. But already we are seeing, bottom of the deck we have so far the Ten of Wands. I see this is taking back your power. How do you take back your power? By realizing the areas of your life where you're giving your power away. How do you do that? Figure out what things you're holding on to that are no longer serving you. That's a start. So, underneath the Ten of Wands, we have the Queen of Wands. And we are about to get into Aries season, so, and with Mercury retrograding in Aries, like, this energy is definitely going to be very active in our lives. Sorry, you guys can't even see it. Oh my god. Oh, I hate when it does that. Ooh, I'm not a fan. Oh, no. Whatever. You guys know what it is. Anyway, so we have first the Five of Cups. Like I said, situations, these feelings are going to be you're going to be very aware of where this is, where you're feeling this in your life. Like at this point, since Jupiter retrograde has already been in effect for 3 days now, technically, even though energetically, like we've probably been feeling it for 3 weeks, this card, there should not be a question about where you're at, like where this applies to in your life. You already know. And if you don't, you might be somebody who's got like an earth moon. I could see that for sure. But the thing is, a lot of times people with this card will be like, oh, he's ignoring these cards back here. And I'm like, yes, but he's also addressing these feelings here. He's allowing himself and being compassionate with himself enough to let himself feel these feelings for a second, you know? Like, yeah, those cups are there and they'll be there when he's done, but he needs to address these. So this is the energy that we're probably still kind of in the process of feeling right now, because again, I think that once the Mercury retrograde comes through, it's going to really help us to dissect these situations. It's going to help us dissect these situations, and it's going to help us to be able to get to the root of it, because your minds are naturally going to be drawn to think about those things, but to bring, because of Mercury being in Aries, to bring new understanding to it. Because I see Aries as new perspectives, yes, new ideas, yes, but also new It's like the next level, like, of, I don't want to say ascension, because even though we are in 11 year, but it's like the next level. Okay, so the Magician wanted to come out with the Eight of Cups. So yeah, when you, here, do this, I'm going to pause this really quick, because something is not going. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so we have the Magician that wanted to come out. So, this energy, again, it's an 8. This energy, it's an 8, so it's magnetic energy. These feelings that you're walking away from, the energy that you're in, see, he's in a red cloak. This dude's in a red cloak. Who's to say that these aren't the same fucking people? They are. This is you right now. The fact that you are in a place where you are ready and willing to release these feelings, these deeper beliefs that are no longer serving you, that creates a vacuum because you're releasing shit. Nature does not like a vacuum, so it's going to make you highly magnetic, highly manifestative. I guess that's the word. I don't know, but you will be it'll be very easy, like I said, to manifest towards you. But the key is to not just walk away and run away from things. The key is to learn the lesson and use that as a way to propel you towards what you do want, and then that's how you're going to end up manifesting what you want. But if you are just running away from something, you will still manifest, but you'll just manifest more shit that brings you here, because this is still a lesson for you to work through. So let us clarify the Justice card. These cards are bomb. Like, they're seriously just confirming everything that I just talked about for like 50 minutes. Love it when that happens. So we have the Justice card. I find it interesting that as far as major arcana cards go, we have 1 and we have 11. Alright, I'm gonna pull one more before oh, okay, nice. Very nice. Okay. So to clarify the Justice card, you'll know why I reacted in a second. We have the 10 of Swords and the 10 of, or the Wheel of Fortune. Oh my gosh. So this, to me, Jupiter energy. That's what this is. So it's working in tandem. You'll notice that I really am not going to talk about the like the zodiac signs that are associated with these cards, because I want you to be thinking past that. I want you to be thinking beyond that right now. I'm not saying that in a way to be like, oh, that's lower level thinking, but it's just, like I said, the lessons will come to you in whatever package they need to, whether that package is a Libra, whether that package is a water sign, earth sign, whatever. Guess what? You could leave a Libra and think, oh, I left that painful situation. Guess what? It's not the Libra. It's a lesson that you need to learn, and it came through, like, you chose to enter into a romantic situation with a Libra, and I'm saying Libra because the Justice card is out. But guess what? Like, you could have fell in love with the Pisces and the lessons would have come through that. It would have just looked a little different. So don't attach. People get so attached to messages, but they'll, like, in a way that if the person who's giving a reading doesn't say the sign, you know, then they kind of are like, does it apply to me? I'm like, did it apply? Did it help you feel empowered? Well, then it applies. It doesn't matter if they said that it was a Pisces and in your life it was a Scorpio or it was a Capricorn. Like, don't get so caught up on that, because overall you're just working through a lesson. That's what you're trying to work through, a lesson. And it doesn't matter who it comes through or what it comes through. You're just working through a lesson. So just keep that in mind. So yes, clarifying the Justice card, we have the 10 of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. I find it very interesting, but it's very Justice card like to have that balance, to them both be 10s and both be literally like almost two opposite cards. Like, the only other thing that could have came out that was like basically the opposite would have been the 10 of Pentacles, as far as I'm concerned. So the 10 of Swords, that is definitely a card of feeling just, yeah, definitely stabbed in the back, yes, but I'm really trying to get away from using those like well understood meanings. I see the Ten of Swords as allowing your thoughts to rule you, allowing your fears to immobilize you, allowing limiting beliefs that are no longer serving you to be your excuse for why your life isn't where it's at. And the reason they're your excuse is because you've hidden them from yourself. So in some area, in some way, you're aware of the beliefs that you are holding that are not serving you, but you repress the feelings that you have around them. You know, because to admit something like that is hard for people, because then it's hard for people to recognize how powerful they are, because then simultaneously they have to recognize that some of the situations in their life, they had more of a say in how it could play out than they realized. Maybe not necessarily a say in whether or not it was going to happen, but at least they had more of a say in what direction their life would take from that point. Because again, I am not trying to say this in any way to where it seems like I'm victim blaming. Like, when you go through some heavy shit, and like right now sexual assault, sexual abuse, and that kind of stuff is really being talked about for a reason. I'm not sitting here and I'm not going to tell you that, oh, you were raped because you, and it's your fault. I'm not going to sit here and tell you manifested that willingly. No. But I think that, why do I always have to talk about things that are so touchy? But I'm like, let's do it. I believe, this is my own personal belief, and y'all can drag me in the comments, I don't care. I like hearing other people's perspectives on things, and I like having people challenge the way that I think, so that I'm constantly shifting and changing it. So at this point in time, and this is coming from somebody who, let's just say I've experienced multiple types of abuses, and leave it at that. Looking back, I realized that even though the situations, like, for a lot of them, I was a child, you know, I really couldn't control that happening. But once I became older, and I repressed a couple of those memories. Like, there have been memories that I have been remembering recently, and I'm like, oh, Lord, I really didn't want to think about that, you know? But I'm like, wow, you know, looking back on those memories and really, like, feeling into them, it's allowed me, like, allowing my emotions to guide my thoughts instead of my thoughts trying to guide my emotions. I realized, like, wow, I can see how the feelings that situation brought out in me, I created beliefs surrounding that to try and protect myself from that in the future, and now I am manifesting situations that bring up those feelings in me again. And they may not look exactly like that, but the feelings are the same, because it really wants me to reconsider the belief that I formed from that situation, because it wants me to feel more empowered. And I'm not going to say it's been fun. Lots of crying has happened. I've had to increase my water intake to account for the amount of crying that's happened. And I already don't drink a lot of water anyway, and I have a small bladder, so I've been peeing a lot. You know, this whole process has really made the day-to-day life situation interesting, because I literally have to pee all the time to account for all of this fucking crying. But we're here, we're doing it, and I'm feeling empowered. You know, feeling like I have to pee all the time, but still feeling empowered. So, anyways, so you have the 10 of, I play too much, y'all, I'm sorry. But also low-key, like, you gotta, this stuff is heavy, this energy is heavy, so you're gonna have to find, like, I feel like it'll work best for you. I'm not gonna say that you have to, but I feel that it works best for me, like, as all of this heavy shit is coming up, like, all of this, like, yo, this is trauma. If you want to know what trauma looks like, this is it in the tarot. These two cards together. And that's trauma. You want to know what repressed trauma looks like in the tarot? this. This is traumatic experiences that your brain literally was like, cannot compute, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna walk away from this and I'm not even gonna deal with it. That's repressed trauma. So in case you want to know what that looks like, so when I see cards like that out for a reading, I know that somebody's working through, I mean, it depends on the reading, but in some way they're touching on things that have been repressed from them. Like that, those energies together are just so, yeah, definitely very Scorpio. So the trick with this, it's so fitting that the Justice card would have the Ten of Swords on one side and the Wheel of Fortune on the other, is that it's trying to tell you that both of these realities are available to you. If you are feeling this, this is also simultaneously possible for you to be tapping into. If you are feeling this, you probably at some point were feeling this, you know, to be honest. But the reason, like, it's really trying to spell it out for you. Like, both cards are the same. They're both tens. Because it really wants you to be like, these are mirrors. These are like the two polarities right now that are available to you. You can stay in this. You can identify with this. You can, you know, yeah, you can identify with this. Or you can see this as a lesson that it is and use it to springboard you towards this. Just in case you're wondering. Bottom of the deck, the Tower. So when I see the Tower, I see not only physical realities around you falling apart, whether it's relationships, jobs, whatever, but remember, everything that you see and experience in your 3D reality starts here. So it's kind of like Inception, whenever they were building those sandcastles, him and his wife, and if you see them on the beach, they were like remembering back to when they were stuck in the dream. Whenever they would push a sandcastle down, the structure behind them would also fall down. So when you are shifting, as you are making these shifts in your mind, as you are letting go and releasing and walking away from these beliefs that are no longer serving you, the structures in your life, again, jobs, relationships, friendships, whatever, situations, these structures in your life, the 3D manifestation in your life that was tethered to this, has to fall apart, because you no longer believe that. That belief is what's tying it to this 3D reality for you. That belief is what's tethering it to your experience. When you no longer believe that, the things in your life that were manifested from that place that no longer aligns with you, that you are no longer in alignment with, they fall out of your experience. They fall out of alignment with you. But it can get messy. But guess what? When this happens, this is the vacuum. This is the empty space that's being created. And then guess what? You see? Do you see how this works? So, I think I'm going to leave it there on the tarot cards, because it really is, again, like, I don't want to get too much into specific situations because it's an overall lesson. You'll note that I really don't talk about, moving forward, you'll realize, like, I really don't talk about specific situations, because I think people can sometimes get too caught up. I don't think it's wrong to do. I think people can sometimes get too caught up on the specific situation, and then through doing that, really hope that the tarot reader or whoever is going to give them, okay, so what do I do? And it's like, no, that's for you to find out. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I'm just here to help give you this information so that you can be empowered. And then you'll figure out what's best for you, you know? So, like I said, I have not gone through my Saturn return. I don't know anything. And even when I do go through my Saturn return, I'm still going to be like, I'm probably going to be even more like, yo, I literally know nothing. Like, I ain't ready. So, let's see. Let's pull a few goddess guidance oracle cards. Let me see how I'm doing on time, because I got two videos to put together. What? 1 hour and 70 minutes? That's not how that... I have a recording app going in the background to make like a audio recording for this, and it says it's been 1 hour and 70 minutes, and that doesn't even make remote sense. Whatever. As long as the app works, I'm not too, I mean, that's gonna bother me low key, but you know, whatever. So, back to this. Let's pull some goddess cards just to kind of see what energy is available to us right now, that and what energy is surrounding us for, and that is available to us to utilize as we moving forward start manifesting things that are in more alignment with what we want, not in alignment with anything but this, in alignment with this is what I want. Okay, so first we have white. I never know if it's Tara or Tara. It says sensitivity. And it says, you are becoming increasingly sensitive. Avoid harsh relationships, environments, situations, and chemicals. So, you want to know why? Because Jupiter's in Scorpio. So yeah, you're going to be hella sensitive. Scorpios are hella sensitive. We all know this. And if you don't know it, why do you think they're always trying to control you? Because they're worried that you're going to do something that's going to hurt them and they're not going to be able to make it through. So they got to make sure that you never do it. Okay. So, white Terra, sensitivity. But again, the key with that is to not be like, oh my god, I have to avoid it, and then create a resistive energy. You can release it, learn the lesson, and move on so that the lesson doesn't have to come back into your reality with a different face. Because like I said, I'm oblivious, so if it comes to me in a different face, it takes 3 months for me to recognize that this is the same lesson over again. And by that point, I probably started to catch feelings. And so by that point, I'm like, oh, but I don't know, you know, and then it gets messy. So, okay, next card out we have Dana, High Priestess. So you have divine knowledge. Oh, I should probably look at this when I'm reading it. You have divine knowledge that can help others through your spiritual teaching. We'll get to that. And I'll pull one more. I don't know if I'll read from the book for all of these, but for some of them I might. Butterfly Maiden makes sense. Pluto energy for sure. Transformation. You are experiencing enormous change right now, which brings great blessings. I just love this card. That enormous change that brings great blessings. Enormous change through you being aware of it, through being so sensitive to it. So this change, you're making this happen. So in case for some reason you're thinking that your fate is tied to what the universe wants to do to you, and you've got this victimhood complex going on right now where you feel like everything is just happening to you, and so you're waiting for something, for the next shoe to drop, to, you know, for the wheel of fortune to turn in your favor. And guess what? You're the one who's gonna make that happen. So you need to like release that from your mind, that you are just honestly a pawn in the game that is life. You're not. When you live like you're a pawn, you're just giving your power away. But you have the power to change your life. And with this Dana High Priestess card, it's like you're gonna have to intuit it for yourself. The answers are within you. So let's see. I guess I'll read from the book on I don't know if I want to, because I really don't want to get too caught up. Let's see. I'll read Dana at least. I think I'll do that one. So. Okay, so some of you, I don't know if I'll actually read the thing, but I'll read a little bit about Dana, the priestess, and then I'll go into what I was about to say. Dana is one of the most ancient of Celtic goddesses, extending to the pre-Gaelic times of Ireland, when the Taoth de Dananns, which means the children of Dana, followed her as their creator mother goddess. When the Gaelics invaded Ireland, the Taoth de Dananns transformed themselves into leprechauns as they remain today. Oh my gosh, is that a fucking synchronicity or what? Because it's about to be St. Patty's Day. Holy shit. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep rolling. My guys are hilarious. Okay. got too excited. Dana, who is also known as Danu or Danu, it's spelled two different ways, is extremely powerful and magical. She can help you with manifestation. Cool. Alchemy and divine magic. She can also introduce you to the elemental kingdom, especially the leprechauns. Okay. So, something about this St. Patty's Day season. I don't know, something about that day. Again, not an astrologer, so there might be astrologers who are like, yeah, this transit's happening and this is happening on this day, so yeah, some shit's about to go down. I don't know yet. So all I can say is, with that synchronicity being there, for some of you, some shit might some shit may happen around St. Patrick's Day. I'm very excited about that. So what I was gonna say is that some of you may find yourself, those of you who I think, like, once you tap into this, how do I put this? If you're watching these videos, you're definitely somebody who, without, whether you realize it or not, are a type of spiritual leader. You are. So, as you are working through this shit, you know, the sensitivities that are coming up, the Five of Cups that's coming up, as you're finding a way to transform it, the way that you will be the best leader to the people that you don't even realize are watching you, because that's the thing, there are people watching you. Scorpios tend to be people who have a following. Like, that's an energy that they definitely have, whether it's a following of people who like hate them or like a cult like following. But so yeah, if you're somebody who's watching this video, you're definitely somebody who probably has people who follow you and watch you, and you may not be aware of that. But as you come into this energy, as you start to understand that the answers that you need are coming from within, those people around you are going to be noticing like the changes that you're making, because they're probably going to be running around blind, just like, what the hell do I do this? Because it's still fucking Pisces energy right now, and Chiron is still in Pisces, and Neptune is still in Pisces, so you know, we still gonna be feeling shit. And with that, working with the Scorpio energy, which is also water energy, like, it's just, all the water energies are going to be working with themselves at some point this year too, but we'll get into that into a later video. But all I'm saying is that as you come into your truth, as you come into alignment with yourself, that is how you're going to be helping others, because I think we are moving from a place where people are like on these pedestals, even if they're not putting themselves on the pedestal, but allowing themselves to be put on this pedestal. And I have to be careful as I say this to make sure that I'm not doing this too, where people come to them for answers and they're giving it to them, or, you know, attempting to. I think, honestly, the best sign of a good teacher is somebody who points you back to yourself. They don't tell you what to think, but they may tell you how to ask the right questions. Like, if you've ever watched Fear Factor or Survivor, you know what makes the hosts of those shows so awesome, like Joe Rogan, and then I can't remember the name of the guy who hosts Survivor, but if you notice, like, they always would like know how to get, like, whenever they'd have like talks with contestants, or whenever they'd have like, you know, elimination round or elimination night in Survivor, you would notice he would always ask the questions that like stir up the most drama. It's like he literally would ask the thing that was the thing that everybody's like, I hope he doesn't ask that. That requires him to be very receptive, you know, like, that requires him to be very aware of the energy. Like, they're very tuned into that. But I was going somewhere with this and I got distracted because I really want to watch that show. I'm going to start watching Survivor again. I might do like a whole thing. I feel like Survivor, I might like maybe the first season and the heroes and villains season, you can learn a lot about psychology from watching that show. And yes, I did go to school for psychology, but I mean, like, how it can play out. Like, I think it's really interesting. Like, almost in a sense, we watched with Survivor, we watched a different reality that was taking form. Like, not like reality TV where it's like, that's not real. I mean, like, a completely different reality that we gotta kind of like sit in on and watch, and where it kind of forced people to go back down into their primal selves and work from, like, instead of it being like deep rooted hidden beliefs, these beliefs that they had internally was literally what was guiding their actions directly. And that's why you would have people who maybe in their day-to-day life are known as being like you had Russell Hans, who in his day-to-day life is like, like, I'm really not this terrible person, but something in him believed that he had to scheme and control people. Very Scorpio. Russell Hans, that character, if you know him, if you know who I'm talking about from Survivor, you want to talk about some Scorpio energy that is like vibing low, because he feels like he understands the show and the mechanisms of the show, so he felt, but he didn't, so he thought, oh, I just have to control everybody. Why do you think that he made it to like the top 3-4 times and never won? Or like maybe it was 3 times, but like he made it to the top 3 every time that he was on the show. He made it to the top 3 and he still never won. That's the thing. This Jupiter and Scorpio is trying to get you to realize that that's not how you're going to pass this lesson. And through you coming into your truth and then aligning with it and working towards it, you are going to shoot forward in such a way that people are going to notice, because they're going to be going through the shit. Like, they're going through the same shit too, but their life is not taking the turn in the direction that they want, and they're going to see you and it's going to be like, wait, what are they doing differently? Because I know that they were just going through some hard shit like me. And that's going to help inspire them to be like, man, she just went for her joy. Like, she didn't have anything planned, anything. Like, so many people have been telling me that they're quitting their jobs without having anything as a backup. And then the next day, one of the women, it was the same day, job shows up for them. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's exactly the kind of job that I wanted. And mind you, like, once they get into the job, they'll realize, they'll be able to figure out even more, like, so if it's something that they really wanted or not. But, like, they're being taken care of. So that's the thing. In case you're worried, you are taken care of. You are. But the reason that you should feel taken care of is because you have you. That's the thing. It's not, oh, some salvation is coming from outside of you. No. This whole transit is trying to get you to understand you are your salvation. But you cannot be your salvation until you are willing to look at the things that you have been hiding from yourself, because that's where your power is. Those things that you're hiding from yourself are what you're giving your power to. And the way you take it back is by pulling up the rug and really looking at what's going on, really looking at what you're working with. So, let's see. Okay, so I had some mantras that I had put together for this transit, and I'm going to read them to you. And these are just, feel free to kind of like tweak these for yourself. Like, I don't want you to feel like it has to be word for word. They're just something to keep in the back of your mind. When those thoughts start creeping up and you start like feeling like that anxiety, start thinking about these things again. So I'm going to read them all. All right. I am not my experiences. My past plans are not a reflection or in any way correlated with my value, worth, or meaning. I am powerful, not because I am in control of my surroundings, but because I do not let my surroundings or my experiences define me or my future. I am powerful because I allow myself to feel whatever is authentic to me in the moment without judgment. My authentic vulnerability with others is my greatest contribution. My vulnerability with myself is my strength. With all of that said, I hope that you have a beautiful Jupiter and Scorpio going retrograde season. I hope that you see this for the empowering time that it is, because it is really giving you a chance to get back into the reins. Yes, it is a co-creative process with the universe, and right now the universe is trying to remind you that you do get a say in this. You do get a say in how these lessons play out for you. So, do not lose heart. Do not fall into the trap of trying to gaslight yourself. Let yourself feel. If you need to take a personal day at work and cry it out, do it. If you're working a 9-to-5 job where you can take personal days, before you quit, use up all those personal days. Like, if you're thinking about it, use up all those personal days, use up all that vacation. Like, if I can give you any advice at all, is if you have a 9 to 5 job and you've racked up vacation time and you've still got personal and sick days, before you quit, if you can utilize all of that, do it. Because once you start working like multiple jobs everywhere, it's really hard to get days off. I'll tell you that right now, because it's part-time everywhere and you don't have insurance, but it's gonna be okay. But yeah, so like, just be compassionate with yourselves. If you take anything from this, just be compassionate with yourselves. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.